How's it going, folks? Now, you may notice in this video, this eye is very small to the other one. I have very inflammation, so I often shut my eyes. It's very red, so I'll often go like this. It's normal, okay? It feels a lot better. And it's very blurry vision when I get to see one eye opening. Okay, I'd like to talk about this topic, and you know, I get to see this really hurts me the most, especially me being a local. Uh, Australian born Chinese. And I get to see many of those who come to this country, 40 years of been staying in this country for a very long time, are very defeated. And maybe because of, oh gosh, I've got tears are coming out already. Oh God. Defeated because of the society has changed. Laws and social security welfare has changed. Help has changed. Jobs has changed over the past. Entering this phase of world where we have high influx of migrants coming into this country every single year. Regardless, Australia is accepting. I'm not sure what is the total right now. I think it's 13,000 each year for the refugees, and then we have asylum seekers. We have the skilled migrants, and as well we have international students who are all fighting for the same slice of cake. Now, the left is always claiming that migrants create jobs, right? Well, it does in a way that they brought slavery wages, and as well, the left has a job, has work. Now, the left has work within the industry. Hi, my name is William. Now, a bit about myself. I used to work in the food stamp industry. I used to study social work, which I dropped out halfway through, which right now is fully bombarded with leftist and socialist ideology, very communist, where teachers praise Mao Zedong, the communist leader. Gosh, I just couldn't believe it when they do that. They very praise the communist ideology. Too bad. Went to a school, a university that is very leftist. It's not about the people. It's about getting there. In my time, I was working in the food stamp industry. You know, Western worlds open their arms out wide and bring anyone, their culture, their religion, their norms, and fit into this new country. Give them a second chance to build whatever they dream they wanted, whether they want a house, better life, better money, or whatever. Ever since I work in the food stamp industry, company, and handing out food, the one that frustrated the most when I get to see is certain migrant groups take very advantage, and they go from hop to hop and lie through their teeth to go through different food stamps. But you know what? As a worker, um, we cannot assume or take one of your clients' words for it. But many locals are very upset within the industry. Now, I'm only saying this because only particular saying Chinese, um, and it's very embarrassing for even for me to even say this because our Chinese would never show any weakness or government reliance. But when Chinese people hear free, they go ballistic crazy, and they take very advantage, and many locals are hating that. And there's another group of people I cannot mention here because they're also labeled as hate speech. Um, and as well, we have the Burmese, Rohingya community as well. And I work, I have to deal with Sri Lankans and many who has gone for asylum seekers and immigration cards as well. And many of them have large families as well, and they take a large food parcel and everything. Now you have that. Now let's talk about the food stamp. Now let's talk about getting into welfare. In Australia, it was once a golden era. You know, it was easy to obtain social welfare. Now getting obtain a social welfare, it's so bloody hard. Generally, I'm speaking of my uncle who has, he's at the age of 60 and nobody wants to hire him. And that is classified as ageism, right? That's part of the social justice, social, that's marginalized, vulnerable group. Who will hire 62 years old, 63 years old, and as well a smoker. Now, government try their best to boost this group of people to get in the workforce by bringing incentive for companies by hiring them, and they give them incentive by hiring them, and there's an ongoing incentive such as if they still remains to the work in 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months, they still get paid. So it's pretty much saying that they're getting a bonus cut. So you got that. But many locals who has built the Australia dream, who has a house, who has a business, but somehow has fallen to cracks, it's very competitive where there's very cheap goods or cheap labor, uh, are competitive, or as well, rent is being, the shop rent has been increasing year by year. Now, when they lost their job or the business cannot sustain, when they go up and reach for the government help and receiving some benefits, just because one of their family members in the work, the other family is not. The Australian the welfare system does not favour any one of them who has assets. Where you can sell your shop, you can sell your house, and once you get rid of all your money, all your assets, then you come to us. Then you're eligible for it. Why many locals are defeated? Because it's out of trend. People are not caught up in today's modern trend, or perhaps slavery wages, or perhaps smart. Nowadays cost of living is going up, and locals tend to spend more, right? Because they want to keep on living the living standards that they once had, but it's hard to maintain. Okay, and why they are so defeated with the low socioeconomic and as well with the migrants, low socioeconomic migrants. Now, the low socioeconomic migrants who come to Australia, or perhaps coming from refugees background, um, the more they are not educated or very low educated they are, the most likely to get into a welfare. Right now, I have to knock back a couple of families because I'm not saying my services, I'm saying the services out there, they do not favor those who have very high IQ or high socioeconomic or very, very privileged IQ, even though they come to Australia seeking for asylum seeker, but they couldn't get help because they were too smart. They can go out and go to seek.com and they go to any job agency website to get a job. Second, they could do that. Okay, so you have that. Well, that really hurts because these are the people who just needs like some physical needs, temporary, and they'll be sorted. It's exactly the same little thing with my uncle. All they need is a job. They're not lazy. They just want a job. They want to work, but they're not fitting the criteria, the legibility, where governments are very squeezing very tight on the government funding on the social welfare programs. This is the reason why Andrew Yang currently in the Democratic debate is one of the outstanding one, astonishing one, where there's no catch by joining this UBI. There's no requirements. Where in Australia's system, when the welfare, and I'm pretty sure Western world works the same way, you have the physical test, you have the asset test, you have pretty much the working test. You have all these tests and making sure that you're eligible for it. Many locals are very furious, which means that they have to sell their property to order. They work so hard for their entire life to sell their property or perhaps their lifestyle to order to survive. Where lots of them are pointing fingers at you know, for example, the dole bludgers or perhaps with the migrants. They're getting a lot more better support where the government gives them support all the way through. Where these people who has paying all the taxes for their entire life for this country to contribute, and yet they don't have the services. That's why a lot of locals are defeated. And many of them turn to Perhaps you guys like to call it in the new term right wing, or perhaps conservative, or perhaps not even both sides, just in the middle. You just wanted to be average Joe working. All right. Now, many locals are very, especially those who wanting to get age pension. Many are furious not getting the age pension to be qualified because the government has a lot of spending with the migrants and the low socioeconomic. So, especially with the migrants, because there's a lot of money pool that be going through. We're talking about translator, housing, talk about like mental health, counseling, GPs, and you talk about like more areas, a lot more areas, which is where the left really likes. It creates jobs, right? So many locals are furious, saying that the government doesn't look after their own people, even though all they need is temporary help or just want a job. You know, this is where a lot of Australians wish that the white paper should be back, the employment honour should be back, or perhaps this word of uh, where Paul Keating and Bob Hawke introduced "Working Nation." That's the slogan. The ones that progressed it even more was the John Howard era, as he privatized the employment centers. And it's based on KPIs and everything. It wasn't based on giving real jobs. But back then, it was white papers and a full employment on, and that's where government give you a job regardless if there's no jobs, and that's for the local people. Now, local people are fighting not only just the migrants or refugees or international students. There are a lot more to fight on, but yet they're getting not favored. These are the people who has Australian citizens or perhaps permanent residency. They're getting disadvantaged. But now the new wave, the social low socioeconomic, and as well with the others, are getting a lot more government, a lot more legible for it, and it just doesn't create counterbalance. The government wanting to introduce to destroy age pension, to push more people, especially my age and younger and older than me, to put more money in their super because there's less wage earners, and as well, you guys may know technology and automation is on the rise. So there's a less wage earners to sustain the society of the welfare state. Therefore, they only provide those who are really in need. Not only just that, for example, even your local, you suffer mental health or whatever other problem, and you seek for government help. You know, you go through the mental health program where it's covered by the Medicare, 10 visits, that's counseling session. But when it comes to medication, you have to wait for a long, long time. Let's just say it has to be very, very severe. Let's just say you want to be suicide, you want to suicide, commit suicide, or hurting others, like in a very high rating. That's when you get services. What I'm trying to tell you in this video is saying that if you're very, very serious, very, very in deep trouble in life, in very, very crisis moment, or wanting to kill or stab someone, um, you get service immediately, and or you're under vulnerable position or under threat. For example, that would be domestic violence, homelessness, and as well suicidal or other acts. I'm not going to talk about it here. But those who are on the edge or just enter the phase of crisis, already in the crisis, but not in the 10 out of 10 system where you do the scaling system. When you go counseling or psychology or whatever you go through, there's a scaling. How do you feel about mental health? Are you depressed out of 10? If everything you write out of all 10, you get everything. But if not, you don't get the service straight away. In this country, usually, if you have money, you go private services, you get the service immediately straight away. If you don't have money, you have to wait on the line like a government services. Especially, it's the same concept with public hospital and private hospital. If you're close to dying, I'm too bad, mate. You have to wait for the government hospital or GP system for 6 months or 12 months. Then after you get that, Exactly the same thing with my aged care. My aged care, where you have to be eligible, and also you have to wait for getting a government approved for 2 years or 1 year. By that time, many elder people has passed away, has died before that. And this sort of practice and behavior is killing many locals' dreams. And many locals are heading towards pointing fingers, and most of them, frankly, are pointing towards the immigrants. Now, it is tough because they're saying that they're getting all the services and this and that. And I guess in the Western world, it is a major problem that they favor more of the. I think my missus arrived. I will end the video now.